First, a disclaimer about this text. I did preach directly about divorce 3 years ago, right after, 1 year after my divorce. So if you think I'm a coward and I'm avoiding it, I am not. I am preaching about the text, but not divorce per se. So if you want to see a copy of that sermon from 3 years ago, I do have copies, so to prove I'm not a coward. The question we often think of when we hear these stories of Jesus throughout the Gospels is, the question they seem to be asking was, why Jesus? Why Jesus now? How could he be the one? Their idea of who God, Messiah, should be was this great warrior, the one that would come and redeem them. They thought of one with force, with might. So why would Jesus be the one? The disciples would ask questions. The Pharisees would ask questions. The crowds gathered seemed to ask the question, why Jesus? Even in 2018, I think we still wonder, maybe not why Jesus, but who is Jesus in our world of interfaith, in our personal lives? Who's Jesus? And I think sometimes throughout history, maybe the majority of time, we thought of Jesus as the lawgiver. We think of him as this moral agent who's going to straighten up the world, and we use him that way often. Jesus said this. We quote Jesus out of text like this. I think if God needed another lawgiver, we probably would have had the Ten Commandments, the sequel, and we would have had scrolls, maybe instead of tablets. What I think we see over and over again in the life of Jesus, his words, his actions, was about helping the world to see the expanse of God's love. To see that it was not limited to the group of that day and groups today, that we choose to say, this is the chosen people of God and that's it. Jesus constantly in his life, in his teaching and his preaching seemed to be saying, all are welcome. Notice how this text begins, this gospel text. Mark sets the scene. Some Pharisees came to test him, said, is it lawful? That's how it began, a test. They didn't really want to hear any lecture or speech on love, marriage, divorce. It was a test. And the test wasn't about marriage or divorce. It was about the law, the lovers of the law. They wanted to hear, are you going to keep this law that we have worked so hard to instill in these people and to enforce in these people? What do you say about this law? Because then we can answer our question, who's Jesus? He's the one that breaks the law if he answers one way, and he's the one who keeps the law if he answers another way. Jesus answers this question by not answering the question. He expands their view. He first of all says it's not about a test, so get over yourselves. He also reinforces that women are not property by his answer. Now, we hear this text often, and we think of marriage in our day, where we at least say we believe in mutuality. In that day, women were property. They had absolutely no rights. So when a woman became married, it was basically a transfer of property. The papers went from the father to the husband. Women had no rights. So for him to say these words about divorce, like if a woman divorces a man, if a man divorces a woman, women couldn't divorce in that day. He's expanding the view that even women are people. Women are not property. Now, they didn't take it into effect right away. The early church tried to, and I say we still have a long way to go even in 2018. But he expanded. They had made God's love so limited, and it was based on the law. With Jesus' answer, he says, all are welcome. Now notice Jesus isn't speaking to an individual in this context. It isn't someone came to speak to the rabbi and say, I got this question about marriage, I got this question about divorce. He's speaking to the crowds. He's speaking to his disciples and all the others who are gathered in that home. He's telling them this is what community looks like. We do not decide who's the power brokers in this room. We're all God's children. He's helping them to reimagine what community could be like if we did community the way God sees humanity, not the way we've given and taken power from people. At this point in the gospel, we've heard a few weeks ago, Jesus is walking to Jerusalem with his disciples. And leave on their journey, he says, I'm going to go to Jerusalem and I will be killed. What do the disciples do? They start arguing about who's the greatest. We remember that story. They start arguing, and Jesus basically puts them in their place and says, you know who's the greatest? Those who serve. Those who have the vulnerability of a child. Then they arrive at this text where Jesus is having this legal debate with the legal keepers of the day. And children come. People are bringing their children to be blessed by Jesus. And what do? They say, no, leave him alone. He's having an adult conversation in here. Leave him alone. He's taking care of the important things of life, getting to the letter of the law. And what does Jesus do? He is indignant, the text says. He is forcefully saying, let them come. Let them come. That's what the kingdom of God is like. Because in that society, children are even below women. These are children who have no voice, no power. They have no leg to stand on until they're adults. They are considered property and they have no voice. Jesus says that's what it's like in the kingdom of God. All are welcome. All are blessed. It's so powerful when we hear he laid his hands on them and blessed them, because men in that society did not hold children on their laps. Men in that society didn't run and greet their prodigal son. Men in that society were distant from their children, and here's this male without his own children blessing them and saying all are welcome. I think this whole text is about community. What does it mean to be community? It's not about the powerful. It's not about who's in charge. It's not about who's the richest. It's a place where we come and we admit, at least in worship, that we're like those children. Hi, my name is Lori and I'm broken. My name's Lori and I messed up so many times today, I can't even begin. We don't have time to go over how many ways I've messed up. I'm Lori and I can't do this on my own. I'm Lori and I stand in the grace of God every day. That's what we come here to admit. That this God names us and claims us. Like we heard in Hebrews, he declares us sisters and brothers, so we don't stay in that broken place. Instead, he sanctifies us and said, you don't have to get it right. You don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to pray the right way, go to church every week, whatever the rules we've made. You are a loved child of God. Many of us know the song by Anne Murray, You Needed Me. The songwriter Randy Goodrum, in explaining, he said he wrote this wife for his song, and he said it's pretty self-explanatory. I can't believe you love me the way you do. That's what we can say every week we come to worship. God, I can't believe you love me the way you do. Because we know in the rest of life that doesn't always happen. Most of the world is conditional. Most of the world is fickle. Most of life we have to earn what we get, and here this God says, come as you are. I can't believe you love me the way you do. Jesus, throughout his life, and I think especially in this gospel, says, all are welcome. You are welcome and you belong at the table. So what do we do with the law? There's laws, there's rules. I like traffic laws. I actually yell at people who don't keep them. Through my windshield, they don't always hear me. I actually have a pretty strong moral code for myself. I think rules are important, but they are not community. We need rules and laws to help us have good order, to help us show love to each other. In case I get wild and decide I'm not going to stop at that stop sign, I need a sign that says stop, there's traffic coming the other way. I don't steal from my neighbor, not because I'm scared God's going to catch me. I don't steal from my neighbor because trust is so important. We have rules and laws, but they are not more important than people. Rules and laws help us live in community, but they are not community. Rules and laws help us have whole life, but they are not life. And we get into trouble whenever we put those rules and laws ahead of human relationship. Today is World Communion Sunday throughout the world. Millions and millions of Christians throughout the world are gathering at a table. And it's not Pastor Lori's table, it's not St. Mark's table, it's not the Lutheran table, it's the Lord's table. A place where we can come and open both our hands and hear those words, this is for you. This is given for you. Welcome to the table, where all are welcome. I'd like to close with words by Jan Richardson. It's a blessing for World Communion Sunday. It's called, and the table will be wide. And the table will be wide, and the welcome will be wide, and the arms will open wide. to gather us in, and our hearts will open wide to receive. And we will come as children who trust there is enough, and we will come unhindered and free, and our aching will be met with bread, and our sorrow will be met with wine. And we will open our hands to the feast without shame, and we will turn toward each other without fear, and we will give up our appetite for despair, and we will taste and know delight, and we will become bread for